Hello everybody, welcome to Credit 10, Day 1. Congratulations, you made it to Credit 10. Okay, you're going to go ahead and do your intro video and record your guess, watch your results video, and then get to solving quadratic equations. So this is a pretty common quadratic equation that forms a curve of a projectile in the air, right? So there's a basketball being shot. So you shoot the basketball and it follows that kind of pattern. And under the effects of gravity, you have a quadratic equation. So here's a table of values in the graph. And then to find the time when the shot will reach a 10-foot height of the basket, you would solve this equation setting the equation equal to 10, right? So the function, the height, is equal to that. So when the height equals 10 feet, then you have this equation. So if you want to solve that, you can look at the graph below and make your best guess for when it reaches 10 feet. So you would have to kind of say when is it going to, so it right after you shoot it, like the instant after you shoot it almost, it's gonna reach 10 feet. But at some other point it's going to reach 10 feet. So you want to kind of estimate when is that value going to happen. And then here it says, okay, if there's an air ball and it would hit the floor, so it goes all the way down to the floor, you also want to estimate that value, right? So carry this scale out and find out what is this value and what is that value. So there's your hint. Okay. Find a time when the ball would reach a height of 40 feet. So go back to that graph and see where is the height equal to 40 feet and estimate that time. And 34 feet. So these are called solutions to the equations, right? If you have this is your equation. The solutions to the equation are the values of t that would make this statement true. So if you look at the graph, you'll probably find two values of t that would make the statement true. Sometimes it doesn't ever hit that height, so let's go back. Yeah, so actually the 40 feet. So it never reaches 40 feet, right? So there's no solution to this equation right here. And maybe there's one solution to the very extreme height that it reaches, right? Then you're going to watch the instructional video on solving strategies. I'll go ahead and just do one of the harder ones. So I would solve this by just taking the square root. So I'm going to subtract 75 from both sides. So that makes negative 15. Actually, this has no solution, right? So I square root both sides. And since I can't take a square root of a negative number, yeah, well, actually I would divide by 5 first, so I'd have x squared equals the square root of negative 3, which, or x equals the square root of negative 3, because the square root of x squared is x, and it's plus or minus. And so the square root of a negative 1 is I, so we'll say plus or minus 3i. Okay. So now solving equations that have no constant term. So probably the best way to solve these is to factor them. So this expression is equivalent to this. Why? Because we factored it, right? So if this expression were equal to 0, then t equals 0, and when 3 minus 2t equals 0 would be solutions to this, right? Because, well, why, right? So imagine, so if if t was equal to 0, is this a true statement? And if this is equal to 0, is this a true statement? You know, that's kind of your hint to explain why. So adapt your reasoning in part A to solve these equations. So since this is equal to 0, I'm going to factor it. And let's see. if this is equal to 0, right, 0 times anything is 0, so that would be 0. X is equal to 0 would be a solution to this original equation because this is just an equivalent expression. And then x plus 4 could be equal to 0, so that means x would be equal to negative 4. So that's another solution to that equation. Okay, so that's how you do those. So you'll watch another video on the factoring method for solving quadratic equations, which is splitting them into their factors. So let's see, negative 24, what do I multiply to get that? But when I add, it's 2. How about 6 and 4, and one of them's negative, so that has to be negative to make a positive 2. So I'm going to say this is x plus 6, x minus 4 equals 0, so that means x better be negative 6 to make that 0, or x better be positive 4 to make that 0. So those are my two solutions. Okay, so then go ahead and answer in your notebook those questions there.